Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. Another Ukraine war news update. I guess it's the third one for today because I did one, I separated it off talking about whether Ukraine should be allowed to use US provided weapons and allied weapons within Russia. There's been a lot of commentary on this. There's been comments from Lloyd Austin and then from other people. Victoria Nuland, Gabrielis Landsbergis, lots of people casting their opinion on this, and I think this is a major argument that is taking place behind the scenes. And I think Ukraine are trying to negotiate this at the moment, and it is really important. This is one of the most important things that needs to be sorted out forthwith. Okay, we're going to now go to Ukraine aid and equipment proper. So two SU officials confirmed to Politico that there could be a new US military aid package to Ukraine announced later this week. And that was probably going to be this big $2 billion package that has been talked about. This will be significant, and I hope that alongside that there'll be this acceptance that they can use the weapons they're providing into Russia. Otherwise, it's fighting with one hand tied behind your back. As well, the US has, through USAID, as Russia's brutal attacks against the Kharkiv region continue, the US is stepping up to support our partners. USAID has provided 107 generators to 5 communities in the Kharkiv region to ensure hospitals and schools continue working even during power outages. There's a real problem with the energy grid at the moment in Ukraine as a result of the Russian targeting of the Ukraine energy infrastructure over the last couple of months. This has resulted in blackouts, consistent blackouts that are taking place, or an organised blackout. So after 6 o'clock last night, there were blackouts. Odessa was dark last night, I believe, and so this is a challenge for Ukraine in terms of how it runs as a country administratively, but also in terms of its economy. That is naturally going to hammer its economy, which is already precarious and fragile. So in a precarious situation. So yeah, good that the US is doing that, and hopefully more of that to come. I know there are several countries that, and I think the EU also provide a lot of generators to Ukraine. As the latest Ramstein meeting got underway by video conference, Spain immediately confirmed the latest batch of Leopard tanks will be with Ukraine in June. Spain's contribution was highlighted by Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, who thanked them for training soldiers as well. There's been some more detail on this. So the military package includes 155mm artillery ammunition, Patriot anti-aircraft missiles that we'd already known about, anti-drone systems, optronic surveillance and tracking systems, and turrets. And then even here, there's another list here that includes RCWSs. Those are remote controlled weapon systems. We're starting to see these a lot more, and that could be what it's talking about in terms of turrets there. Indeed, the Netherlands has just given or pledged a bunch of YPR 765, the M113 old school tracked APCs that have been upgraded by the Dutch, and they are providing those with remote controlled turrets on top of them. So these are becoming more and more frequently used. We've seen machine guns attached to drones now being used by the Ukrainians, and that's a significant evolution there. We've seen turrets, remote controlled turrets being used by the Ukrainians as well. In Avdiivka, when Avdiivka fell, one of the trenches that the Russians were struggling to take, they were struggling for some time because of at least one of these remote controlled machine gun turrets that was kind of poking up over the trench and hammering the Russian position. So they are being used and have been for a few months. Here, the Dutch YPRs presently or the soon provide the Ukrainian armed forces with these. Don't know how many, but they will come with remote control weapon stations. Following Zelensky's request, it's vital that all countries continue to support Ukraine. So this is what they look like. That is based on the old M113. Then here we have no reports just adding that the Ukrainians have received YPR 765s to the tune of 200 previously. So there are a number of these already in Ukraine working hard. They've done a good job. We do see them sometimes on the loss list, so they are getting actively used. Ukrainian pilots are already practicing combat missions on the F-16 aviation simulator that has been provided by the Czech Republic to Ukraine. This is fantastic news. They are being anticipated quite a lot, these F-16s. I hope it won't be a damp squib. I hope that they won't get introduced and then shot down fairly quickly. I think the Ukrainians are doing a really good job of attriting the Russian air defenses to shape the aerial battlefields for the advent of these fighter aircraft. The Ministry of Armed Forces for France, that is, has ordered 400 Aster missiles for both France and Ukraine armed forces at a cost of 2 billion euros. The first batch of 200 missiles, originally scheduled for the end of 2025, will be delivered in 2024. So they've expedited these. These are used in the SAMP-T Patriot equivalent air defense system that the Ukrainians have one, possibly two of. No one's quite sure. France and Italy have provided one, and it could be that they've provided another as well. Now, German officials are ready to support a US plan to leverage the future revenue generated from frozen Russian assets, mostly stranded in Europe, to back $50 billion in aid to Ukraine. The subject is expected to dominate talks in a meeting between finance ministers and central bank governors from G7 countries in Italy. German officials don't expect any final agreement until G7 leaders meet on June 13th to 15th, nor implementation to take place until next year. But that could be something to look forward to for the Ukrainians, because actually, yes, they want everything now, but they also want to make sure that they have not everything now and then nothing then. They need to make sure there's sustainable support for them, and this is one way that they can get it, and that's really good news. Germany is now ready to support the US plan to use future revenue of immobilized Russian assets, and that's according to Bloomberg from undisclosed sources. Washington's proposal, so this is actually very much in line with, we didn't hear that from the first one from Null Reports, but very much in line with what the US... oh no, it does say US plan. Sorry, my fault. Yes, so this is a US-driven thing, but if they can get Germany on side, then that's going to be really powerful as well. German initiative to strengthen Ukraine's air defense has already raised almost €1 billion. Reports from German Foreign Ministry on the occasion of the visit of the head of department, Annalena Baerbock. So she's a Green parliamentarian who is doing a really good job of supporting Ukraine. She's over in Kiev right now as the foreign minister, and a really vocal supporter of Ukraine. The purpose of the foreign minister's visit is to ensure that despite the escalation of the situation in the combat zone, Germany and Europe will continue to stand firmly by Ukraine and will not stop supporting the Ukrainian people. Now, a little bit more detail on this from German Aid to Ukraine, who says the German Ministry of Defense has just published a new list of countries contributing to the German IAAD initiative, which aims to strengthen the Ukrainian air defense. And so far, unknown contributors that were made public today are Belgium for military aid, France, Great Britain, Romania, Spain, USA and Norway. So a number of countries adding to this that were hitherto unknown. German MOD also announced that Latvia plans to join the IAAD initiative as well. So, equipment contribution. Germany is providing a further Patriot battery. Lithuania is providing 6 Amber 1800 air surveillance radars. So, they're the big ones, very wide array that rotate around. Belgium is giving some aid. France is giving some aid. Great Britain's giving some aid. In fact, we've given some missiles just now. I don't know if that's part of it. Romania some aid, Spain some aid, and USA some aid. But it's unknown what that aid may be, whether it's even been decided upon. But they are promising aid. And then the financial contributions are coming from Belgium. So that's Belgium doing two components there. A really good news from Belgium stepping up. Belgium, €200 million. Netherlands, €150 million. Denmark, €134 million. Canada, €52 million. And Norway, an undisclosed amount of money as well. So German Aid to Ukraine says, I would love to know which air defense equipment France, Great Britain, Romania and the US are delivering to Ukraine as part of the German initiative. The Spanish contribution are most likely not confirmed. The few Patriot missiles delivered some time ago. Also, so there was talk about Romania providing perhaps a Patriot battery. people are a little bit skeptical. Their defense minister is not a fan of doing so, as according to, I think, their prime minister was saying recently. So it could be that Romania provide Patriot missiles interceptors, which would be really useful. Ukraine desperately need them, but they would prefer both missiles and a battery as well. Now, French aid to Ukraine is adding something about training here. 45 gunners, Ukrainian gunners, were in France learning how to use a Caesar, and their training ended last weekend. As part of the artillery coalition, France has already delivered 6 Caesars since January this year. The French army is preparing to move forward to rain down on Ukrainian soldiers in an express training session lasting just 15 days. I don't know if that's the right kind of language there, but yeah. So, quote, every second he spends in the firing position is a second they can take an enemy shell. The time limit for counter-battery fire at the front is currently between 3 and 4 minutes. Have you seen how fast the Caesar is? This allows you to fire before the shells have even reached the ground. They have already left their position. 5 artillerymen, I presume that means recognizing counter battery being fired, and before that reaches the ground you can work out where it's coming from and fire back. I think that's what they mean, but I don't know. Language is a bit iffy here. 5 artillerymen for 1 Caesar, a gun commander, a gunner, 2 pyrotechnicians, a pilot, and almost 1 French trainer for every Ukrainian soldier. Express training for 15 days, and it works, according to General Jean-Michel Guillotin, head of the Artillery Coalition for Ukraine. According to General Guillotin, quote, the Ukrainian army is the leading European army in terms of size, and it is an army that has been in combat for 2 years. These are people who know their job, and if they train their gunners in 15 days, it's because they think it's enough. So in other words, they are expediting the training, they're rushing it through, but also it is enough to get them trained. I mean, that is super quick, right? But nothing like training on the job. And I guess if you can get experienced staff members, experienced artillerymen from other units to then, you have existing units that you could take some experience out of, put some newbies in, and put that experience in the newbie crew and mix and match, and you can overcome the short training length times. So training time lengths. The first thing we noticed was that they were very invested, very focused. In the beginning, they were very serious, but they're very invested in their training, reveals a French officer. Most of them are experienced. They know we don't have to start from scratch, and it's nice because the training goes a lot faster. So the reason why they can expedite it to 15 days is that they are taking people with some experience already. France has already trained almost 400 gunners, Ukrainian gunners, and will be training artillery officers from September onwards and on a long-term basis. From 3 Caesars per month in 2022, production is expected to reach 12 guns per month in 2025, equivalent to 144 guns per year, to meet the operational needs of Ukraine and NATO's European allies. As mentioned, the Caesar, some were saying that it's preferred to the Archer, even though the Archer is technically better. I think the Caesar is somewhat easier to operate and less kind of electronic, less of that kind of need. And so I don't know, if things go wrong, possibly it's easier to fix with a Caesar than with an Archer. It's a bit of speculation for me. The Caesar, which symbolises France's military aid to Ukraine and which has become a nightmare for the Russians, is also a symbol of the rapprochement between France and the Baltic countries. Of the 45 Ukrainian gunners, 17 have already used the Caesar on the job in Ukraine. The others have acquired artillery reflexes on other pieces such as HIMARS. Some people okay. I don't know what that next one is in reply to, but that interesting stuff there from French aid to Ukraine. Now, no reports that 10 Ukrainian military personnel have completed training in the Netherlands to maintain F-16 fighter aircraft. So these will be your ground crew and mechanics and whatnot. The Netherlands has pledged to make at least 24 F-16s available to Ukraine. These must also be maintained. I would hope that they are going to get an absolute ton more of these personnel trained as well going forward. They are just as important as the pilots to some degree, because if you don't have a maintained plane, you don't fly, which means the pilots are useless. So it's everyone's as important as everyone else in this whole in the whole jigsaw puzzle that is operational F-16s. Now, going across to Russia, and I know this is all a bit negative, it's not to say Russia don't have weapons coming in, etc., but just trying to work out what their situation is with regard to mobilization. A Russian hero came to school to tell Russian children that they should go to war instead of enrolling at a university. The war Russia is trying to prepare for will definitely be not be just against Ukraine. It's also noteworthy that these heroes are scared to show their faces, and you get these children just brainwashing these children. Some of them are clapping to what he says, and it's just a real shame to see. No doubt, spreading lies about Ukraine and about the war in Ukraine to try and get these people interested in conscripting, joining, mobilizing when they get old enough, etc. Another one from the same source here, Victoria, saying Russian Deputy Sobolev said that if Russia declares war on Ukraine, everyone will go to the front, including fathers of 3 or more children. It's weird that he specifically mentioned Asians and Kazakhstanis. That sounds to me like genocide against minorities. I don't know about that, but here you've got a comment from Sobolev saying, again, remember, Russia technically aren't at war. This is a special military operation, but it means they do have somewhere to go in terms of war mobilization if they do declare war. So, we had a partial mobilization, September 21st, 2022. In general, full mobilization is war. And they won't look at the number of children anymore. In other words, if you have 3 children, then we won't mobilize you. And they won't look at number of children anymore. They need military trained mobilization resources, including those who have recently become citizens of Russia from Central Asia and Kazakhstan. They definitely have more than 3 children. He's, I think, indicating that there might be a major mobilization coming soon. There could be this declaration of war more formally that would allow that, and then that's when all the excrement hits the fan. I think the outlook for Russia is not good. I was saying this last night with Greg, unless they mobilize. And if they mass mobilize, then Ukraine are going to be really, really challenged. I mean, Ukraine are obviously being challenged massively at the moment, but there's no opportunity for Russia to succeed in this war, anything beyond what they presently have, and maybe inching a bit more here, inching a bit more there, and then going to negotiations concerning what they've got. There's no kind of taking whole Donbass. There's no getting to Transnistria. There's no taking Kharkiv unless they mobilize 500,000 troops. So if Russia have any intention of doing anything more than seriously what they've got now in any meaningful way, they've got to mobilise. So will it come, or will they just go to the negotiating tables after 2 years of senseless war, having killed all that many people of their own population, to come out with just a little bit more of Donetsk, Luhansk, some Zaporizhia, some Kherson, and they've had their army obliterated? And then that's assuming that in a negotiation they would get everything they wanted as well. So I don't know. Will we see a full Russian mobilisation? Watch this space. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Speak soon.